In this video, I wanted to share some of my theories regarding what types of narratives we might see play out in The Bad Batch, an upcoming animated show that is basically the 8th season of the Clone Wars. Without further ado, let's get right into it. It is no secret that many more seasons of the Clone Wars were planned. After Disney acquired Lucasfilm, the show was cancelled, but many of the story arcs were told through different types of media, novels, comic books, and so forth. Plus, obviously, we got 2 more seasons even though they were much shorter than the other ones. Still, despite those 2 seasons getting made, some stories never saw the light of day. In any form, unfortunately. Which brings me to Barriss Offee. Dave Filoni explicitly stated that he had plans for that character past the 5th season of the Clone Wars. He did not reveal any details, but one can speculate. Many thought that we would see Barriss in Rebels as an Inquisitor, but alas, that did not happen. I'm thinking that the Bad Batch might be the perfect opportunity to close out the story arc of that character. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This seems far-fetched, but please bear with me as I elaborate on this. The Bad Batch takes place right after the end of the Clone Wars and will explore the early days of the Galactic Empire. Given one of the scenes from the trailer, which is basically a Revenge of the Sith tie-in, somewhat similar to another scene from the 7th season of the Clone Wars, I'm thinking the very first episode might take place at the same time as the Siege of Mandalore. So here is my theory. Eventually, the Clone Force 99 will be tasked with hunting down Jedi. Who else is hunting Jedi at this time? Other than Vader, the Inquisitors. Yep, my guess is that we will see some Inquisitors in the Bad Batch and learn more about how they came to be. Respawn's Fallen Order plus Vader comics already delved into that to some extent, but much is still unknown about the Inquisitors, especially about how Palpatine managed to recruit them early on. When the creatives were planning to introduce the Inquisitors into canon for the very first time, I have no doubt they must have given some thought to their backstory. Were some Jedi given a choice by Anakin/Vader to join him during the Jedi Temple raid, or did Palpatine contact some members of the Order prior to Order 66? Punk Krell might be an example of a Jedi who was recruited to eventually become an agent of evil. Though we know he was approached by Dooku, but perhaps Dooku was simply doing what Sidious told him to do. So how does Barriss play into all this? Well, it is likely that at the time of Order 66, she is still imprisoned by the Republic. As the Republic is being transformed into the Empire, and the Jedi are no more, Palpatine can do whatever he wishes with Barriss, and perhaps other rogue Jedi that were imprisoned all this time. Here's a crazy thought. What if Vader actually tasks Barriss with tracking down Ahsoka after the former is made an Inquisitor? Barriss knew Ahsoka well and would be a perfect candidate for such a task. This would also give some much needed closure to the conflict between those two that wasn't really resolved in the Clone Wars. It is not that they hated each other. Ahsoka actually thought that Barriss made some valid points about the Republic and the Jedi, but obviously went about things in a completely wrong way and should not have killed anyone. Still, seeing those two confront each other again has a lot of potential to explore some rather interesting story beats. Also, my guess is that the Bad Batch will somehow tie into Kenobi, and depending on how many seasons it will have, at some point it might act as a prelude of sorts to Kenobi. Obviously, one will be able to watch Kenobi without seeing the Bad Batch. I think it is pretty much a given that it will be written in such a manner, but if Inquisitors and clone Jedi Hunters appear in Kenobi, the Bad Batch might explain how they came to be. Commander Cody also has some history with the Clone Force 99, and my guess is that we will see him in both the Bad Batch and Kenobi. As for his appearance in Kenobi, that warrants a separate video that I plan to make eventually. Though all this raises some concerns. If they introduce so many different crucial characters, won't the Bad Batch, the actual group of main protagonists of the series, be sidelined as a result? I think if things are done right, not necessarily. Perhaps the Bad Batch ends up saving Ahsoka if the writers will want the Clone Force 99 to split away from the Empire at some point. Might be that Rex will try to contact some clones and get their inhibitor chips removed with the help of the Bad Batch, such as Wolf, Gregor, and Cody. Honestly, I am really excited about this series. As you can probably tell, there is so much to explore with it, and I think they will surprise us in a really good way. And what do you guys think? Am I onto something with these theories? Be sure to let me know in the comments, and may the Force be with you, always.